Good morning. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving this past 2 weeks and you enjoyed your week off, or maybe some of you, this is your first time. Regardless, you're in Revelation class, simplifying Revelation, so if you're looking for something else, it wouldn't be found here. So, this morning I want to start off with a statement and follow it up by a dozen or so questions. And the statement is this: if you ask the wrong questions, you will get the wrong answers. You'll get answers, but if you ask the wrong questions, you will get the wrong answers. And when we come to a biblical text, it's important for us to be asking the right questions so we can get the right answers. Well, that behooves the question, how do I know what the right questions are so that I can get the right answers? I'm glad you asked. Because that's what we're going to be talking about today. What is it that governs us, that guides us to get us to ask the right questions when we come to a biblical text, specifically Revelation? Now, the last 2 weeks, or the last couple of weeks, we've gone over several different things. The first major thing that we did, though, is what we call diffusing semantic bombs. Specifically, we dealt with three key issues of Revelation. Literal versus figurative, what is prophecy, and are we living in the last days? Let's do a little bit of a quiz. Literal versus figurative, what did we land on? Should we interpret it literally or figuratively? Neither, right? Naturally. If it's literally using a symbol, you should use a symbol. If it's literally saying something literal, then you should use it, whatever it's saying, literal. You need to naturally allow the author to say what he's saying. Question number 2 for the quiz. Are we living in the last days? What did we answer? Yes, but how did we qualify that answer? We have been for 2,000 years. Because the biblical definition of last days that we looked at from all 7 texts was that the Bible is defining last days as the first coming between the second coming. That time period is the last days. The third question is, what is prophecy? How did we define it? That's a little harder one because there was a couple of elements. Let me ask this. Did we define it as prediction? No. Why? Because the biblical data says if you look up prophecy, prophesier to prophesy, over 88% of the time it has nothing to do with the prediction. So instead we establish the definition of prophecy as a revelation about who God is, what God desires, and what God demands from us. And this is what we've done in the first 2 weeks so far. And we also, in the first week, we established our approach to Revelation. Specifically 3 principles. We approach it with the principle of humility, the principle of submission, and the principle of context. Context, 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 context. I said I would say it 50,000 times. I'm going to hit my quota, I promise. Context. We talked about 6 key elements of context, and today we're going to deal with the first one. The first key element of context is called genre. Genre. I know it's spelled like it's genre. It looks like genre, but it's actually genre. It's a French word. And the French word simply means kind. That's all it means. It means kind. And in literature, or actually in classifications in general, the word genre means this. It is a kind of writing that can be classified based on similar elements to other classifications, other documents within that classification. It's a confusing definition to get to a clear answer, I know. But basically what you need to remember is this. A genre is a kind of writing. It's a kind of literature. It's like this. If you walk into a music store and you ask for a classical CD, say you're looking for Bach or Vivaldi or something like that, and you get it and you put it in your car, and first off you hear is a guy screaming at the top of his lungs, an electric guitar slamming, do you think that you've got the right CD? Why not? Because it doesn't match the genre. That's why. Because when we go to classical music, you're not expecting electric guitar slamming because we have a classification of music called classical that doesn't utilize that particular element of music very often, at least. You do this all the time. If you go into a music store and you're looking for country music, God help you, just kidding, kind of, just kidding. But you put it in the CD player, and this guy's rapping like crazy, and you have these deep bass things resonating through your... Do you think you have the right CD? No. Because you intuitively know that the genre doesn't match what you were looking for. Genre is all around us. But genre is very important for several reasons, but I'm going to give you the key reason right off the bat. And I'm going to do it through an example. If I put up on the screen, Tigers, a headline, Tigers massacre Indians. What does that mean?
Baseball game.
A baseball game? What else? Tiger killed an Indian. Here's the issue. If we have this particular headline up there, you don't know what it means until you know what section of the newspaper you're in. Because if you're in the sports section, it is probably talking about the Detroit Tigers absolutely annihilated the Cleveland Indians. But if you're in the international section, it may be referring to, the continent of India. Some tigers got loose and killed some people that were native to that country that could be referred to as Indians. But if it's in the local section, it could be referring to a zoo that all of a sudden somehow lost a couple of tigers. They wandered onto a Native American Indian reservation and they killed some people there. How do you know which is right? You only know if you know what section of the newspaper you're in. And that is genre. Each section of the newspaper is a type of genre. And the only way you know how to interpret Tigers massacre Indians is if you know what section you're in. The same principle applies to the Bible. We only will know what questions to ask about the headline if we know what section we're in. Does that make sense? You see where genre becomes important. It governs the questions we ask. You see, if I'm in the sports section, I see this headline. Some of the questions I may ask are, why is this noteworthy? What was the score? Who hit the most home runs? Or were there any home runs hit? Does this have implications for the standings or postseason play? Why is this an important story? But if I'm in the local section, my first question would be, where did this happen? And my second would be, are the Tigers still loose? You know? Because the implications of the answer to that question make a big difference about me and my family. The genre dictates what questions you ask. And as a result, if you don't ask the right questions because you don't know what genre you are in, you're going to get the wrong answers.